they have to make these walls so tall? Oh, wait a second. That was easy. Alright. Wait, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Sgt. Pepper isn't as good as everyone says. That's right, you heard me correctly. I don't think that Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is the best album ever. Which is what a lot of people say. A lot of people say, oh, this is the best Beatles album ever. And even Rolling Stone said this was the best album of all time. A lot of people argue and say that Revolver is the best Beatles album, but frankly, I don't think either of them are fit for the top spot. I like Abbey Road the best, to be honest. But in reality, I just don't think that this is as good of an album as everyone says. Like, remembering it, as I last listened to it, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. But in reality, this album only has just like a few good songs on it. Like 2 songs I really don't, or I just don't like on this album. One of my favorite YouTube channels of all time is Vinyl Rewind, and in his review of Sgt. Pepper, he said that he has yet to see a negative review of Sgt. Pepper. Well, that review is right here. Now, while this isn't going to be like tearing it apart like I did with Black Sabbath's Paranoid, I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to tell how it is. I'm just going to say my perspective of it, that this isn't the greatest album of all time. Frankly, I don't think there is a greatest album of all time because we all have different tastes. I mean, I have different tastes from a lot of people. Some people like jazz, some people like metal, some people like Sgt. Pepper as the best album. I just don't. So, right now you're listening to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, or at this point it's probably switched to With a Little Help from My Friends, so I'm going to go off script and here. This is by all means a good song. With a Little Help from My Friends is actually a very good song, but on this album it's not as good as some of the other versions that I've heard. If you guys have ever listened to Joe Cocker's With a Little Help from My Friends, then you would hear that that is a much better cover than this original version. Joe Cocker's version of With a Little Help from My Friends is very good. It is a fantastic song, and I just like it a whole lot better than this version, though this version is very good. I do like Ringo Starr's vocals in a lot of Beatles songs. Like, in their debut album, Ringo did a vocal cover of Boys, which I think was a very good cover, and it wasn't one of the worst Beatles songs of all time. Ultimate classic rock. And Now I Hate It. This is one of the songs I was talking about that I actually don't like on this album. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is praised as being one of the greatest Beatles songs ever. I see it as a blunder. And this song is a good example of why I don't like the later Beatles stuff. John Lennon's song choices, the way he makes music, is something that I really don't like. I really don't like his style. I'm more of a Paul McCartney person myself. And so, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, in my opinion, is just a big blunder on this album. And it's a big twist from With a Little Help from My Friends. Like, A Little Help from My Friends sort of gives you, a first impression of what this album is like. And to hear this song right after With a Little Help from My Friends, it just makes it seem awkward. It's like, oh, is this still a Beatles album? Yeah, this is still a Beatles album, but it doesn't sound like one, and it's not supposed to. I actually heard somewhere that Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever were gonna be on this album, and in my opinion, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and Strawberry Fields Forever are actually very similar. I just like Strawberry Fields a little bit better. So let's go ahead and move on. Okay, One problem that I have with a lot of Beatles songs is the lyric choices. And this song is one of the examples of a kind of random lyric song. You know, what I mean by that is it doesn't contribute anything to the album. Take a good album such as ELO's Time. You can link all the songs into a story. You would be able to tell with the lyrics what the song is truly about. And Getting Better, in my opinion, is just a cheesy pop song. Okay, another problem that I see on this album is that it has a lot of forgettable songs, and Fixing a Hole is a very, very forgettable song. In fact, I think like right after I first listened to this album, I immediately forgot about Fixing a Hole and other songs on this album. You know, quite a few songs on this album are very forgettable. Like, you're not gonna forget them like other Beatles songs, because a lot of Beatles songs have this hook that pulls you in, and Fixing a Hole does not have it. It doesn't have the same charm as other Beatles songs, and which is why I don't like this song. It's forgettable. You know, it doesn't have that one special element that all Beatles songs have when it really pulls you in and it really just keeps you there throughout the whole song. Another example of why I like the early songs better. This is another song that's another forgettable song, but it's not as bad as Fixing a Hole. I do recognize the song from the chorus. In fact, I think Paul has the higher harmony in the song. Am I right about that? Sounds like it. But Paul's vocals really shine on this song, and one thing I really like about the Beatles is Paul, specifically his vocals. John's vocals are actually kind of excruciating. Ringo's are sort of like tougher and stuff. George is George, and Paul is kind of soothing, but it's also rough. He's got a lot of elements in his voice. That's what I like about him, and I think he really does shine in She's Leaving Home. What about Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite? It makes you feel like you're in a circus, and this is one of those songs when you can actually clearly, it's like you can see what's happening. It's like you can see the sound. That was really profound. You can see the sound. But really, you can tell that you're in a circus because of all the noises that it makes. And who is Mr. Kite? Will we ever know the identity of Mr. Kite? Who knows? I hate this song. I hate George's overall style of this song. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why the crap would you... Why would you have a song like this on this album? Is it because it's the late 60s and you need to have something psychedelic or else the kids aren't going to get high on LSD? No. This song makes no sense. It's so pointless. It's so stupid. Why is it on this album? It makes no sense. No, move on. I can't listen to this anymore. Okay, that's better. This is my favorite song on the album, and John Lennon called this an example of granny music, as in like old woman music, like old-timey stuff that John Lennon was specifically trying to get away from. And first of all, I do love the clarinets on the song. Like, of course, every clarinet player has to know the opening lick to this song. It's actually very catchy if you think about it. I like play it every day. This song is actually very good. It's my favorite song on this album, and I just like the simplicity of it. A lot of people, like, look at me and go, why don't you like today's rock stuff? And, like, sometimes I say because I don't like yelling vocals, and I don't really like the whole grand style of today's music. No, it's because it's just not as simple as this. This, along with a few other albums, like a few other bands like Wings, the Rolling Stones, The Doors, and even ELO, it's always so simple. You can always understand it. And today's music, it's always so cryptic, which is really what I don't like about this album, is that there's so much cryptic stuff. This one, it gets to the point. It's so simple. You can understand it so easily. And that is why this song is my favorite on this album, is because you can understand it. Never mind, just keep going. This is a song when you don't know what it's about, but you love it anyway because it has sort of a jumpy feel. It's got the sort of Beatles vibe that pulls you in, as I mentioned before. Even though you don't really understand it that well, you're still able to enjoy it because the music itself is good. And you're able to just enjoy it because it's the Beatles. You know? This song is good because it's just good. This song is the opposite. The horn sounds in the background of this song kinda hurt. It kinda reminds me of Gotta Get You Into My Life on the Revolver album. I should probably review that next. And while that is just less excruciating than this, this isn't as bad as Satanic Majesty's Request, but, you know, it's still not that good. Good Morning is repetitive, it makes no sense, it's just there because they needed filler. This is the filler song. Kind of like in movies when you needed a bunch of crap or something, or like in an episode, you need a filler episode to just get to the plot, to build up more to the big plot point. This is just filler. And that's it. It's just filler. And that was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It had some peaks and valleys and stuff, and, you know, it had some blunders here and there, but overall, I do think that this is a very good album. I think I'm going to leave it at a 7 out of 10. You know, there were some songs that I really didn't like on this album, there were some songs that I really did like on this album, and overall, it still doesn't deserve this spot as best album ever, but, you know, it's still a good album. I definitely consider you picking this up and adding it to your record collection. I'm going to leave it as a 7 out of 10. That's what I thought. You better sit back down. A Day in the Life is easily one of the best songs on this album, and a lot of people consider it as one of the best Beatles songs ever, and I do agree with that. It's one of the best Beatles songs ever. It's not the greatest song of all time, it's not the greatest Beatles song of all time, but it's up there. It's one of the best Beatles songs that I've ever heard. But one thing that I thought of is, why do I like it so much? It's not simplistic. Is it because of the kind of sort of back and forth thing between two of the greatest songwriters of all time? Is it because of the overall feel to it? Is it because that it's a dramatic closer to Sgt. Pepper? Is it because I just accept it for what it is and I just want to follow the bandwagon and thinking that A Day in the Life is one of the best Beatles songs ever? Why? Why do I like this song so much? This is the one song that I really like to think about that's on Sgt. Pepper. As mentioned before, there is a video online about the whole record as a whole, but it mainly talks about the cover and how the Beatles really changed the whole cover art thing when it comes to vinyl records. And as you would think about what this cover is about, you also think about what A Day in the Life is about. And while I don't think that this is the greatest song of all time, it's still very good because it makes you think. It really just says, hey, you. I don't know where I was going with that. But still, A Day in the Life is one of the best songs on this album. And it's something that I really love about this album is that it really makes you think, and it's a dramatic closer to it. And I know I said just now that I don't like being profound with these things, that I really don't like having to think, that I really like things simple. But A Day in the Life is the one exception that I always make. And it's just because maybe I do like following the bandwagon. Maybe I just think, you know what, I've torn this album apart enough already. I think it's time that I just accept A Day in the Life for what it is. And maybe I just have. But I still stand by the idea that A Day in the Life is the best closer for Sgt. Pepper. And you can't just leave it off at good morning, and then Sgt. Pepper, and then just end. You gotta have a dramatic closer. And this is undoubtedly my favorite John Lennon Beatles song, because it's just great. And that was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It's not perfect. It was never perfect. I don't care how many people say that this is a perfect album. It's not perfect. Rolling Stone, this does not deserve to be at the top spot of the 100 greatest albums of all time, or 500 greatest albums. It deserves, like, of course, the top 50 spot, but it is not the greatest album of all time. Let's see, where did I rate this? Like 7 out of 10 before. I give this, what did I say? I don't know. The highest peaks are 2 songs, When I'm 64 and A Day in the Life, but there's also a few blunders as well. Like Fixing a Hole is forgettable. Good Morning is forgettable. Lovely Rita is forgettable. And then there were some blunders I really didn't like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and Within You, Without You. What is that even about? It just makes no sense. And, you know, just one thing that I really don't like about this album is how a lot of people say that it's unforgettable, but I think that it is forgettable, and I only like a few of the songs on this album because they're the only songs that I can remember on this album, which is why I give this album a 4 out of 10. Now, that's not to say that this is a bad album. Like, I give it a 4 out of 10 because if there were more songs that I really liked on it, I would give it a higher rating. But because there are only 2 songs that I like, I'm not going to give it a higher rating. So, that was Sgt. Pepper. I feel like I was obligated to review this album at some point because it's kind of the most essential album to have in any collection, and I do suggest that you pick this up, listen to it, you know, just listen to it on YouTube or online or something, and tell me how what you thought of it, because I like to hear some feedback. In fact, I was told by someone about the Black Sabbath review that it was an interesting that I had an interesting perspective on it because they mostly heard just positive things about it, and it had been a while since they've heard something bad about Paranoid. And probably the same for Sgt. Pepper. Like someone said, they couldn't find any negative reviews about it, and I don't think that this is a perfect album. So that was my review. I do suggest that you do pick it up. It is a fine album to have in your collection. I would hang it up for listening. I would listen to it every once in a while. So if you've seen anything on my wall that you would like me to review, leave it down in the comments section below. Message me on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, and just let me know what album you want me to review, okay? I will see you guys next time. My name is David Bell, and thank you for watching another episode of Record Reviews.